A number of years back, we had that tragic story about the McDonald's massacre, where a gunman came in and just blew away a bunch of families. Even prior to that, I was a little suspicious of public places, but after that, I became a dad who every time I went to a restaurant, I sat in a place that I could protect my kids. I had a game plan. I had, you know, this idea of where my escape route is. If someone came in stupid, I knew what I was going to do with my kids. They didn't know about it. My wife did. And that was my attempt at thinking, boy, I might not be a good cop. But could you imagine doing that hypervigilance 24/7, day in and day out? Because if you were not on guard, you could be dead. That's Bob.
Wow. But Bob, I want to hear, I mean, this reminds me of like the Batcave.
Exactly.
There's a good guy phone and a bad guy phone. Like, are they different colors? Do they ring different?
This started when my very first undercover assignment, this was well before cell phones.
Yeah.
And we would have call forwarding from my undercover office to my home phone. And one day, the bad guys called, and I forgot to stop the call forwarding, and my wife answered the phone. And they asked, "Where's Bob?" And she said, "He's at the office." And they said, "Well, what's that number?" And my wife had the comment, or the sense to say, "Well, who is this?" And this guy said, "Oh, I'm a friend of Dave's." Well, Dave was my undercover target who was in prison, or in jail. And so she said, "Well, let me have him get back to you." So we decided then, look, we needed 2 phones at the new house. So when we moved up to Los Angeles from San Diego, we installed 2 phones in the house, and one was called the good guy phone and the bad guy phone. And my kids would always say, "That's Daddy's bad guy phone. We can't answer that, but we can answer this phone." So they always knew.
Wow.
And you're lucky you didn't have one of those kids that it was, I mean, everything they could do to not stay on the bad guy phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Now in this journey of hypervigilance, you know, you're watching. How do you go from being that super hypervigilant, on edge, to being a dad who's calm and, you know, change the diaper and go through routine? How do you do that?
You know, it was difficult in the undercover role to drop in and drop out. I recall specifically one time I was actually changing the diaper, and I had the bad guy phone cradled in my neck, and I'm changing my son's diaper, and I'm negotiating a narcotics deal, and my wife came in, and she wasn't real pleased with me because...
Really? Oh, shock.
Because she didn't think that this was a good atmosphere in which to raise a child while I'm negotiating heroin
I don't think
transaction.
so. Oh, that's horrible.
But you know, there were times too that there was an impact on the family that you didn't really think about.
Right.
Well, and I'm trying to imagine, you're talking on the bad guy phone. I mean, you're not talking nice, and aren't the kids just walking around, you know, playing, building something with Legos, and here's Dad just, you know, beep, 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 beep.
There were a few times when, as my children who are now adults will tell you, that Mother had to usher them out into the garage while Dad was on the bad guy.
Blue streak, eh?
Yeah, and they started to pick up some of the more colorful language. And
Sure.
so that,
Oh, that's nice.
Where'd
that
you
was an
hear that,
issue.
sweetheart? That would be Daddy.
Daddy. Okay, let me guess another one. Decompress. Okay, all the pressures, all the stress, you're finally off for a couple days or whatever. How did you unwind and connect with your family that way?
I would unwind physically. I mean, I ran a lot back in those days, and I boxed. And so that was always good for me. I attended a gym in Los Angeles where a lot of world-class fighters would box, and I would get in the ring and literally get my head beaten in by people with world-class skills. So
That helps you decompress?
well, some people thought that it maybe knocked some sense loose or a few brain cells loose.
Right.
But that physical,
Yeah, I can
getting
see the
that
physical
out.
outlet.
And then when I
definitely.
got home, my family was very important to me. So as much as I loved the undercover work, I loved being a husband and a father. And so I could, by being with the kids, by celebrating them, by helping, like you said, coach your kids, attending my daughter's performances, attending my son's games and everything. So being a family, being around friends, we were in a small group, I would
but
share.
those are things you were very intentional about. I mean, you were making
Right.
some real choices to
Yeah.
leave behind one world and engage in other roles.
Absolutely, yeah. It was an intentional.
That's critical. Now listen, Bob. A whole bunch of officers, cops, paramedics, firemen, they're watching. What's your best tip? You got 34 years of marriage after 25, 26 years in that bureau. Give them the best tip of how to have a good marriage in spite of all the pressures.
I think the one thing that my wife and I always try to do, we never went to bed angry. You know, I think
Really?
James talks about never let the sun set on your anger. And I think we always try to do that. And I got to give my wife more credit than I mean, I'm starting to lose my hearing, and sometimes I just looked engaged rather than actually hearing her.
Right.
But we would talk it out, and I think the open communication, you know, being
Yeah.
being willing to share as much as you can with your wife and with your family, and if you can do that, there are a lot of problems that can be worked out when she doesn't think you're hiding something from her, or you think she's hiding something from you.
Thank
That's
you, Bob.
wonderful.
This open communication is really important. And understand that we got help for you. If you go to the website, we got this brand new DVD for first responders and how to help you through the marriage battles with the pressures of your job. Stay with us, and I'm looking forward to give you the bottom line of how to keep your family strong, even though you're packing guns. Stay with us.